Historic Cedar Key is about 25 miles northwest of Crystal River. Seahorse Key is an island just a couple of miles southwest of Cedar Key. We were invited to take a boat ride over with the University of Florida faculty and students to attend an all-day open house on the island. As we left Cedar Key, it was a short ride over with this jolly group of UF researchers. You couldn't have asked for a more beautiful day. The Gulf sparkled and the sun was brilliant. When we landed, we caught up with Jennifer Seavey of UF. She's the assistant director of UF's Seahorse Key Marine Lab.
Well, we're all gathering out here on Seahorse Key at the Seahorse Key Marine Lab, which is operated by the University of Florida and Santa Fe College. And we're here for a celebration of the natural history of the island. So we're highlighting marine ecology and coastal ecology. We have folks out here talking about horseshoe crabs and sea snakes and cottonmouth snakes and vertebrates, which students are actually gathering all around us right now to put in the labs that we have up here for people to have experience touching animals and seeing them up close. We have events for kids to put together a bracelet about the ecology of the island, highlighting the different things that they can find out here. And what else do we have? Fisheries biologists out on the other side running a seine net to catch fish with the local people. So lots of things happening.
After arriving on the island, the first thing you're drawn to is the Seahorse Key Lighthouse. It's actually a fair walk up, which sits on a 52-foot high natural sand mound. It's this high hill that made it the perfect place for a lighthouse. Built for $12,000 and put in service on August 1, 1854, this lighthouse made it much safer for commercial boats coming in and out of the Suwannee River. The lighthouse was extinguished during the Civil War by Union forces and was lighted again in 1866. Between 1903 and 1913, additions were added to both sides of the lighthouse. In 1929, Herbert Hoover signed a bill to create the Cedar Key National Wildlife Refuge, of which Seahorse Key is a part. In 1915, the lighthouse was decommissioned. It now serves as a dormitory for researchers with 6 bedrooms and 26 bunk beds. William Wilson, the first lighthouse keeper, is buried on the island along with other residents of the past. And in 1952, a 3-acre parcel was leased to the University of Florida as part of the Seahorse Key Marine Laboratory.
Hi, my name is Ashley Trina. I'm a student at the University of Florida, and I'm running the touch tank here today.
Okay, what do we have?
Well, let's see. We've got a couple of different crabs in here. We've got these guys. They're pretty cool. These guys are called spider crabs. They're also known as decorator crabs because what they'll do is take pieces of their environment and use their sticky saliva to actually stick the environment to their shell. It's a form of camouflage. And one of our crabs in here has actually done that. He's taken a piece of turtle grass and stuck it to his forehead.
In the tank.
In the tank.
Wow.
We've got a couple of different kinds of snails in here. This guy is one of our conchs. This is his big foot right here. This is what they actually use to crush oysters out on the oyster beds. And he'll stick his siphon out this end, and that's how they feed. And that's also how they get rid of anything that they don't want in their system. That's one way in, one way out. And so we've got conch shells, and we've also got whelks, which is our other kind of snail in here. This guy's a little one, but he's one of our examples of our little whelk. He's got the same thing going on. He's got his little foot here, and his siphon comes out the tiny end. We've got a sea squirt in here. These guys are tunicates, and they're distantly related to mammals because when they're young, they actually have a backbone. These guys are called sea squirts because they actually squirt like a little fountain. And that is their siphon, so that is how one way in, one way out. That's how they get rid of things they don't want. And these guys are stationary, so they just kind of sit in the water. The current's strong, they float with the current. They don't do very much. This big guy, he's a big old lightning whelk. As far as I know, nobody's home, but this is one of our big shells that we found in one piece. It's pretty rare find to find a shell in good condition at this size.
How old would that be?
He's an old guy. He could be a 50-year-old guy. I mean, if he was alive, he would have lived a while.
Crossing over the island, it's a steep walk down to one of the most beautiful natural beaches in Florida. The wide sandy beach covers about a 2-mile area and seems to go on forever in both directions.
Today we're going to try pulling about a 60-foot beach seine, and we're going to see what we can collect out of the water. We're going to talk a bit about data collection methods in fisheries and what a challenge it is to get informative data. You know, if we look out on this vast expanse of ocean, we can only sample such a small portion of it. And from that sampling, we have to say something about what's going on with the populations out there. So now we see that's what we got. You also notice an incredible number of little juvenile fish are coming in.
Wow.
So I'm not going to pull it all the way in so that we can let them go. It's the future generations.
What kind are they?
Probably have to do hundreds of these all around the area to get some index of what's going on. But notice we haven't gotten any sea trout, right? No redfish, right? No groupers, right? So we're really limited. And it's a lot of effort to do this 100 times, and you're still limited in what you can say about fisheries.
So the question is, why are horseshoe crabs, or what good are they? And there really is a great answer for that, because horseshoe crabs are used in a very important biomedical test. Everybody here has benefited from horseshoe crabs. There are companies that collect the blood and spin it down and then break open the cells, and it produces this biochemical substance that coagulates right around any kind of gram-negative bacteria. And so it is the standard for all injectables. So if you've ever had IV fluid, any kind of inoculation, hip replacements, heart valves, anything that goes into the human body is checked against horseshoe crab blood, is tested against horseshoe crab blood to make sure that it was produced in a completely germ-free environment.
It was a very educational day. Besides learning that horseshoe crabs have blue blood, and that blood is widely used in the medical industry, I also found out that water moccasins on the island help protect the nesting birds and in turn get fed indirectly by the birds. UF researcher Coleman Sheehy explains.
Right now there are colonial nesting birds nesting on the island, on the western end of the island, in the tens of thousands, and these include things such as double-crested cormorants, white ibis. There are brown pelicans and several species of egrets and herons that nest here. And when they feed their young, they bring in marine fish. And they're very sloppy and clumsy with this, and a lot of fish are dropped in the process. And so these snakes, these cottonmouth snakes, which are venomous, they're pit vipers, have adapted to surviving on this island by consuming the fish that fall from these birds, from their nests. And because there's so many birds and they nest about 6 or 7 months of the year, these snakes congregate around the areas where the nests are common and just wait for fish to fall. And they don't move very far from those nests either. So they're sustained primarily by the fish dropped from these birds. In return, what's really interesting is that the presence of these snakes, they get large, they are venomous, they seem to deter potential nest predators. So animals like raccoons or even rats, which can and are found on the island, can make it here. Rattus has been introduced onto the island and is here, and raccoons can certainly swim here. They're on many of the other islands surrounding this area. But in the areas where the nesting is taking place, you don't find raccoons and you don't find rats. But if you go to the opposite end of the island, you find a lot of rats. And we've done many transects to look at this and quantify where the abundance of rats. So really the snakes are benefiting the birds in that they're really deterring these egg predators, raccoons and rats, and maybe others as well. So there's this mutualistic relationship between the snakes and the birds, which is really neat when you think about it. The snakes are benefiting this huge colony of colonial nesting birds, and the birds are also benefiting and feeding these snakes. So let's try our
Well, we have open houses 6 times a year, and we usually share this event with the history group, the Cedar Key Historic Society, but this time it's all devoted to ecology, so we have a lot more ecology happening than we normally do.
Okay, thanks for talking with us.
No problem.
Seahorse Key is home to tens of thousands of nesting birds from March 1st through June 30th. No one is allowed within 300 feet of the shoreline during this time. But the next open house should be in early July. If you'd like to find out open house dates and more information on Seahorse Key and the National Wildlife Refuge, go to fws.gov/Cedar Keys or call the Lower Suwannee National Wildlife Refuge office at 352-493-0238 and ask for Ranger Pam Darty.